Welcome to 365 Brothers. I'm your host, Robin Shine. This podcast introduces you to Black men from across the United States, their wisdom, their experiences, their joys. It also shares some of the triumphs after diversity. Basically, this podcast is about the humanity of Black men, just as it could be about the humanity of women, of white, of brown, of yellow. I focus on Black men in this podcast because of the statistics, the fact that Black men are more likely to be stopped by the police without a justifiable cause. Now, if you're questioning that, this podcast is the place for you to be. I ask each man the same 11 questions, and one of them asks about their interactions with law enforcement. The point of that question is to show the commonality in who is stopped, regardless of profession, regardless of age. Now, the other thing is to just share the diversity of experiences of Black men outside of what you see on TV, in movies, outside of the stereotypes and the tropes. This is 365 Brothers. Welcome. Now, if you're wondering, it is a subtle process. So don't just listen to one episode. I recommend listen to 5. When you listen to at least 5, you get it. You will truly get it. And after that, you'll either be hooked or not. But this is a 5-episode minimum, so get ready, get comfy. Today, we're speaking to a Philadelphia, Pennsylvania native. He owns the gym WC Fitness in Philadelphia. He's also a sports nutritionist and a life coach. We're speaking today with Walter Copeland. Welcome, Walter. Before we go into the questions, is there anything you'd like to share about yourself to help the listeners get to know you better?
I'm just a hardworking individual that loves to educate individuals on living a healthier lifestyle. And when it comes to that, me being the oldest of 2 children and seeing my mother go through health issues, put me in this direction and assure me the need for living a healthier lifestyle, not just through academic reasons.
Yeah. And heaven knows, Americans in general, we're just, generally obese or overweight at least, and generally have some really unhealthy habits. And then especially we're hard hit in the African-American community.
Yes.
Some of the highest rates of cardiovascular disease, obesity, diabetes. And what always strikes me is how the diseases that most impact us are preventable.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to this conversation. So let's jump in. First, Walter, what's your favorite song or movie, either now or all time?
I've always been a Brian McKnight fan from my younger days of singing. That's the way love goes.
That's a good one. And what is it about that song in particular, given that you're already a Brian McKnight fan, but what about that song stands out for you?
Just going with the flow, but then also enjoying the journey.
Yes, indeed. Because if you can't enjoy the journey, where you're headed don't make any sense.
It doesn't.
That's the truth. And it's unfortunate. Sometimes, I don't know about you, but I know I didn't figure out how important the journey itself was until I want to say, honestly, my late 30s, to really appreciate that it was the journey itself, not what I was trying to get the relationship to be or do.
Yes.
Well, what's a favorite childhood memory?
Playing for a Pee Wee football team and understanding it's not always about you, it's about the team and understanding discipline and teamwork. So I think that's a good memory of.
Was there a particular moment or a particular game where that really became clear?
There was a game where we played out of town, out of Philadelphia. It was in New Jersey, if I'm correct. And before the game started, the coach indicated whoever was the most prolific or MVP of that game would get a 12-foot hoagie. Being young, A lot of times kids, we're motivated by food. So apparently, I was playing a line, defensive end. Some people that know the terminology. I intercepted the ball in the fourth quarter before the game ended. I ran it back for a touchdown, and the only thing I can remember after that was being on the back of the bus, having a 12-foot hoagie, being selfish, not sharing it with anybody else, and just indulging in the food. I didn't have a care in the world.
I love that. I love that. And, as someone who, I don't watch football now, but I went to plenty of games in high school and college. I understand you basically took that. There were no second downs, no third downs, no fourth down.
No,
you were just this is me. This is me. That's fantastic. And so here's what's funny. You're like, it's about teamwork, but you kept that hoagie to yourself.
Yes, I know, right? It was, if I can remember, it was a bologna and cheese hoagie.
Wow, that's
with
cool.
With chips in the middle. You got to put chips in the middle.
Oh, Lay's.
Yes, the Ruffles, the Ruffles. Oh, you got to hear the crunching.
I gotta tell you, I do love my Ruffles for dip, but I like my Lay's. If I'm gonna have chips in a sandwich, I want them Lay's. I'm just saying, that's just me. That's awesome. The next question I ask is actually in two parts. It's about accomplishments. Uh-huh. First, an accomplishment that means the most to you personally, and then an accomplishment that when others hear it, it gets the oh or wow. So let's start with the first one. What accomplishment means the most personally?
Being a Black business owner, and also being a sports nutritionist and being educated. A lot of times, being African American or being Black, the stigma is that we're not educated, or it's hard for us to be successful. And then in having my establishment since 2012 and still running strong. So that surprises a lot of people. I really don't think about it, how long I've been open. It's just I enjoy the journey, but then also I'm a firm believer of just treating people right, they'll come back to you.
What was that like for you getting started, opening a business? I mean, was it something that had been like a lifelong dream? Was there a particular inspiration?
Actually, the crazy part about it, I came into the health and wellness field off of a bet. So if I can go back to 2004, where I just started working out, me and a significant other, and this is around a time where group exercise instructors was the thing. You got those years where everything's the thing. So, being a group exercise instructor was the thing. And prior to that, I was overweight. A lot of times people didn't know I was 250 pounds. So being overweight, I was an office manager for a law firm, doing a spin class. And being a member in the spin class, I was able to latch onto the instructor. I looked at her as a mentor, and it was within the class, working out and exercise made me feel good. Didn't know that. Didn't understand the science behind it. And being a member for a year. Then that next year, she's mentoring me. Then I wound up getting spin certified. And then everything manifested from there. Then a significant other of mine, she was overweight. She became, a group exercise instructor. And her and I, we were so competitive. And my thing was, if you can do it, I can do it. Uh-huh. So she became an instructor. She kind of taught me. I was able to kind of transform and get the gist of things. I became an instructor. I became deep into it. When you get deep into something, you want to do it. You want to go all in. I wound up being an instructor, still working for the law firm.
Right.
So with me becoming an instructor, and then I became a kickboxing instructor. Then I became a strength trainer. So all these other types of instructor or intricate parts of the instructor field, I wanted to master. It was fun. It was interesting. Being in that world, being around positive individuals and people and things of that nature. The law firm I started working for, they wound up doing they closed down. So they gave me a severance. And that motto, either you got lots of time and no money, or no time, you got no time and more money. So those were the things. So I was working from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the law firm. They got a severance. We closed down. Then I said, you know what? I like working out. Okay, can I make this something I can do? Can I still make the same amount of income I was making at the law firm? And I said, you know what? You can do it. if you understand what health and wellness is, understand how exercise, dig yourself heavy into the books, understanding how to transform people, think, all of that. I wanted to make sure that I needed to get a grasp on it so that I can at least make the certain amount of money I was making. By the time the severance might have ran out, I would be okay. That was my mindset. And severance probably could have held me along for about 6 to 8 months. So that's where I'm going heavy. In Bally's, we had certification after certification. I'm taking it, because I wanted to make sure I wanted to master my craft. That was my thing. So being an instructor, I got my significant other. I'm indoors, I'm involved, I'm losing weight, I'm happy. And then with me having a severance from the law firm, I got tired. Being a manager, you burnt out. I said, all right, if I'm going to work at Bally's, I just want to work and go home. You know how you change that mindset, work and go home. I wanted to work and go home. So severance is about to run out. I still wasn't making the money that I want, close to what I was making before, but a management position came in. They looked at my resume. So the resume, when they looked at it, they were looking for a fitness director. So because I was a prior manager, that's all they needed to look at. At that particular time, I was one of the top personal trainers in the East Coast working for Bally's. Wow. I just wanted to be a trainer and go home. But when I looked at the pay being a fitness director versus a trainer, and then the severance about to run out, you got to make a decision, right? You got to make a decision.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? Let me get back into management. I can make the money I was making. I know how to deal with people. I know how to work with people. I know how to build relationships. It's just knowing the product that I'm selling. That's all I needed to make sure. So me being a people's person and understanding how to deal with people, it wasn't hard for me. So doing that, I'm still a trainer. I'm still a group exercise instructor. So at Bally's, I'm holding about 3 to 4 positions. I'm still a traveling spinning instructor. So I'm still making money from all different aspects.
Nice.
And then it manifested from there.
And then from there, you at some point, you just knew I can do this for myself.
I can do this for myself. I wanted to make sure if I'm going to do it, I want to make sure I have the degree. I have a degree in health science and kinesiology, because I wanted to make sure if I'm going to teach people, if I'm going to help people, I wanted to make sure I knew what I was talking about. Nice.
I'm glad I asked. Now, what about the accomplishment that seems to get the ooh or ahs from others?
The nutrition step. Being a nutritionist and health coach, health and life coach. And the reason why, I think nowadays people want to understand how to eat healthy, but a lot of times people don't know how to. And being able to teach people and simplify nutrition to a point the average person can understand, it resonates with people. And also it helps people become at ease and saying, I can eat healthy without transitioning from one diet to the next and not being consistent with that. So that being a sports nutritionist, I was able to differentiate and separate myself from the norm or from the average individual.
Yeah, that's great. You're a one-stop spot for health and fitness.
Yes.
So you can talk to if I'm at your gym and I have questions about, how to use this machine, you can do that. But you can also, you might ask me, well, what are you eating before you work out? Or what's your lifestyle?
Yes, I can.
Is it common for gym owners to go ahead and get a degree in that?
Yay and nay. It's depending on how deep they are in the field. But you might have some individuals get a degree in kinesiology, which is the study of the body. You might have some individuals get a degree in exercise science. They may get a degree in health science. It's still underneath that umbrella of understanding the anatomy of the body.
Okay. That's something I wouldn't even, I have to tell you, the only time I've never joined a small gym. I've only joined, I was a member of Bally's forever and things like that. So it's interesting to me to realize that, these folks aren't just opening it up. It's not just the business,
Yeah. And I tell people, being a trainer or being a fitness professional, you want to master your craft. 2, you want to be able to separate yourself from the rest. And 3, make sure the accomplishments or degrees or certification that you are achieving is credible. And that's probably the only thing I don't like about being in this field. There is no boundary or foundation. It's not regulated. I've met a lot of people who train with other trainers that was able to obtain a certification over one day. But you do have some some accreditation, some certification that has the accreditation nationally, but you have to know he has this versus that. And then the average person really don't know. They just want somebody to help them out, hoping that the person that they're speaking to has their best interests and that is educated.
Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about words. What's your favorite quote, saying, metaphor, or book, and why?
One of my favorite quotes is, remember the 3 T's. Things take time. Because social media is on the forefront on a daily basis, a lot of times people don't want to take the time to want to transform their body. Think about it. With Instagram, is you see a snapshot of what's going on. You really don't know the time frame it takes to get from point A to point B. Another one of my mottos is hate me now, love me later. That's my gym's WC Fitness motto, hate me now, love me later. And what it stands for is, in the beginning, you may hate some of the things within the process. By the end, you're going to love your body. You're going to love your transformation, not only physically, but mentally. And one of my favorite books is by Jim Collins, From Good to Great. And what I like about this book, it teaches businesses how to transition from good to great. What are you doing now? What can you do down the line? What have you done so far? Having the right team on board, because being a CEO and owner of a gym is not just me. I have staff, I have assistants, I have trainers that work with me. And I never want to say anybody work for me. You work with me. And the last book is called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. The E-Myth talks about there's a difference from someone baking something versus being a bakery. Just because you're good at a craft doesn't mean that you know how to run that craft or run that particular product to be profitable.
Right.
So those are some books that resonates with me. I read them. Anybody that wants to become a gym owner, a CEO, try to be totally transparent with them and let them know what it takes. You not only need to understand the physical side, you need to understand the mental, as well as the business side of having a business or, run any business. Just because you could train 20, 30 individuals, do you know how to understand it from a business standpoint?
Right.
So those are just some books I've read. I constantly read them because I may have a different perspective reading it 2-3 years down the line versus when I first read them.
Nice. Those sound pretty good, especially I love that part about, just because you know how to bake doesn't mean you should be running a bakery.
Yeah. And what I like about, that book, in the book, it indicates she can bake. She can bake so many different things. And a lot of her friends and family members would tell her, hey, you should run a bakery. You should have a bakery. So she did try to do that. But coming to find out, she was up 6 a.m, didn't leave till 9 p.m. Come to find out, you spending other hours just trying to get the ingredients to make the food. And she didn't even play. She didn't even understand that or have that concept of that. Right. She thought of just putting food in the oven, and baking is not about that. How much the product costs? What's your profit and loss? What's your return on investments? So
what's your marketing plan? How are you expanding? Right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there a person, moment, conversation, or event that stands out as either changing the trajectory of your life or had a significant impact on your life?
The pandemic. The pandemic scared a lot of individuals, and it resonates with me because being a gym owner and putting yourself in a predicament that you have to close your only income or your source of income definitely put a scare. It shook a lot of people up. Either it made you progress to do better, or it made you to regress and do a lot worse.
Right. We talked before, and you're getting it done. You're staying open. What do you think? I mean, obviously from the books that you suggested, I have an idea, but what had you be able to stick with it?
I could say the environment that I cultivated within the establishment of WC Fitness is a family environment. We are a boutique gym. And one thing a lot of my clients or members said to me is, well, we need to make sure we have a home to come to when everything open. So as everything closed, they still was paying me even though it closed.
Wow.
And with them doing that, because in the beginning of the pandemic, the closure, I don't believe any businesses were getting any type of financial help right away. They wasn't. So with them saying that, and they put me in a predicament to stay afloat, that really hit home to me. And it was a show just the years of investment or investing that I have invested into my clients. And I wouldn't even call them clients. I would say family. They showed it back. So that right there, it spoke volume. And it put me in a position to say, you know what? Well, give these people your all. You're helping individuals live a healthier lifestyle. You're educating them on how to do it and just not to just exist in life. So that moment right there, it made me sit back. I shed a tear, and it made me just like, whoa, don't give up. Because at one time I was thinking of just giving up. You know what? Going working 9 to 5. I'm tired of pushing. I'm stressing. But when they said that, it just made me push harder. It made me push harder, continue to help people and just to help them out so that they can live longer for whatever reason their why is. See their children, see their grandchildren, family members and so forth and so on. So that was a memorable moment for me when they said that. And it's unexplainable.
That is awesome. It speaks volumes to, earlier when you were talking about working at Bally before you transitioned to your own gym, being able to cultivate the relationships with customers, clients, and so on, and staff, obviously, as well. That answer just speaks volumes to how true that is of you. I know I'm saying this to someone who works out, but I got a thing for beer. I love a good IPA. And there's a brewery. It's a small brewery that has a little stand they have something out here called Steelcraft. They're these little bungalows. Anyway, they just have, they build up really small eateries and breweries. And sometimes I go in there. In fact, the last time I went, they had a beer for 16 or 4 for 20. And I was like, I'll just take the 1 for 16. And he's like, okay, but you could get 4 for 20. And I'm like, I know. I said, and I told him, I said, I just want you guys to be here when everything opens up. I don't need 4 beers. And so when you tell that story, it's like, I get that there are certain places, and it's because of who they are that, I just show up periodically and I'll just make sure I buy a beer just to support them.
Yeah. And it definitely, it resonates and it hits home.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. All right. What's a moment or event that highlights or, stands out as signifying your experience as a Black man in the United States?
I would say just being able to break the barriers or defining what success is not always monetary. It's just making someone else better. I had one of my older clients. I call her my mom. She's a senior citizen, but any type of business advice, because she has many different properties in the city of Philadelphia. And she was somebody that I looked up to. She was totally transparent with me. Just the advice she's giving me, well, you can do this, you can do that. I was just soaking everything up like a sponge, especially when I expanded. When I first opened my establishment, I only had 1,200 square foot. And expanding, I was scared to expand. I really was. You expand, you got to do what? You got to spend more money. I wanted to expand, but the expansion would come out of, okay, you paying this amount, and then you would probably have to pay double. So her being in real estate, she not only supported me, she indicated to my management team, to the management company, what you do is called an escalation clause. Escalation clause allows for me to, even though I expanded, not to immediately say I need to owe this amount. Give me some time to open up my establishment, to expand my establishment, and have the clientele so that I can pay what I need to pay monthly. And that was definitely a memorable moment as well.
Have you had any experiences with law enforcement?
No, actually, no, I really haven't. I had basic tickets, but I think my approach was always respectful no matter what. And I think knowing how to speak, knowing how to talk, knowing how to overcome certain objections or having rebuttals, a lot of times I was able to not obtain a ticket or just acknowledge what happened, and then we move on.
All right. If the United States was a woman with whom you could speak, whether mother, lover, child, neighbor, stranger, whatever, what would you say to her?
Understand what's going on, have a broad view of how to handle the situation, but then also utilize your motherly instincts to justify your reasonings, to be fair.
All right. What is love to you?
A force to be reckoned with, infinite. So that's love. That's love to me.
Okay. What is something you've learned through your profession, training, experience, or adventures that you believe more Black men should know but don't, knowing that whatever you say benefits everyone?
You can catch more bees with honey than with anything else. And what I mean by is that treat people like you want to be treated.
All right. Now that we've had this conversation, what did you get for yourself personally out of participating in this interview?
It allows me to relive some of the experiences that I've had within the time I've not only been in the health and wellness field, just in my life, and seeing, I will always say, the trials and tribulations that I've been through, that I was able to integrate into who I am today. Until this, I'm still learning how to deal with people, how not to deal with people, but then also how to be patient in life. And I can say that it took me 10 plus years to transform my physique. And last but not least, it allows me to relive some of the experiences that I have. It allows me to chuckle a little bit. Have you been through this? Oh man, I've been through that. Never thought I'd be here today. Oh, you didn't? I never thought about it either. Mm-hmm.
First, I acknowledge you for being a true people person. I mean, like, it's so clear based on how your family of members stand behind you. One of the things that just stands out about you is a big heart, because you didn't start a business to help people get in shape. You say it over and over again that what you're doing is helping them live the best life, to be healthy enough to have the body that can get them to their mental, emotional, and spiritual dreams, their purpose. And I think that's awesome that that's your perspective.
Remember, you can follow us on Instagram at 365 Brothers. Also, follow us on Facebook at 365 Brothers, the podcast. Lastly, I just want to let you know, producing a podcast, it takes something, and I'm really grateful to have partnered with alidu.com. They make publishing easy. There's a link in the show notes for anyone who either has a podcast or is thinking about a podcast. You don't need to learn all that sound balancing and compression. Save all that. Use your time for what matters, interviewing and sharing the stories that your podcast brings. Thank you for listening to 365 Brothers. I certainly hope you enjoyed the episode. I encourage you to subscribe. Please leave a review. I want to know what you think. Also, if you know someone who would be a fantastic guest for 365 Brothers, please direct them to our website, 365brothers.com. You'll also find all the episodes there, 365brothers.com. And your support is welcome. And remember, to listen is to love.